Welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Evil Dead Rise being called Evil Dead Mother. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Evil Dead Rise, released in 2023. Evil Dead Rise is written and directed by Lee Cronin and stars Lily Sullivan, Morgan Davies, Gabriel Echoes, Nell Fisher, and Elisa Sutherland. The movie is essentially about some sisters that have been stranded apart for some time now because one of the sisters is not a groupie, but like someone who follows the band on the road and tunes up their guitars and everything. I would say more of an assistant technician. And of course, while she comes back into the picture, they're apparently her sister and her kids are getting evicted from their apartment because the apartment's being demolished. So of course, she comes in and everything, and then while they're talking about, oh, where's your husband and everything, well, he left them and everything, and so while they go to get pizza, they bring back, and the earthquake happens where they fall into this vault where it turns out the book of the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead is, and they find that, and they find some records, and then of course they play the records, and then of course the Book of the Dead awakens, and then of course it goes after them and starts possessing them one by one until they're dead by dawn. I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise. I love Evil Dead. I remember since watching the movies, ever since I watching when I was a kid, I think I was in like high school, like ninth or eighth grade, and I like begged my uncle to take me to Best Buy so I can buy Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and I bought them, and I remember just watching them, and I was loving it because I just like the idea about some friends that go to a cabin in the woods and read a book and become possessed by demons and then have to fight them off. I know technically they're not demons, they're deadites. But I just like saying that with demons because, it makes it more metal. But yeah, I was so excited for this movie because the last Evil Dead movie we got was in 2013, which I love Evil Dead from Fede Alvarez. I thought that was great. And so I was always wanting a sequel to that movie. And I know Fede Alvarez has said over the years, there's been multiple reasons because the movie did really well. I mean, they said he was shocked that they never ever made another one. In fact, he even put a poll up and said, which one would you rather make me, Don't Breathe 2 or Evil Dead? And Evil Dead 1, even though he's like, I wish I could make another Evil Dead movie. I really do. But it's not up to me. It's up to Sam Raimi. And apparently Sam Raimi, I guess him and Sam Raimi or him and Rob Talbot or somebody didn't see eye to eye on the 2013 film. And so I guess they decided instead of bringing him back to make another one of those, they just said, let's just find someone else. And I guess that their new formula is let's just find different directors to bring different approaches to different stories rather than trying to go back to the cabin in the woods story. Like this time around, it's an apartment. It's basically they're stuck in an apartment. And I will say the movie's bloody. I watched this movie I remember seeing this back in 2013 for like once and then rewatching it now. And I remember like, oh wow, there's so much I forgot about this movie. And for some reason when I did my rewatch last year of Evil Dead movies, I just did not pick this one up and watch it. I watched everyone up to 2013, and while I don't think this movie's bad or nothing, I just kind of like, just forgot about it, and I do think that this movie is pretty good. I mean, this movie's not bad at all. Like, I mean, I will say it's very gory too, and I like about the movie. It's like, it's like how the mom gets like, with the elevator, as things attacks her and everything, and it's really horrific, and everything. And then of course they think she's dying, and then of course like you have these neighbors that are going to come and try to rescue her and everything, bring her into a hospital, but then it starts like, then she starts becoming demonic, and then she starts attacking them and all that, and they have to throw her outside, and then all the neighbors that are left in the apartment building, she starts attacking them, and you see an in shot of her just going around killing the neighbors, like there's like a little kid even that just gets murdered, and then one guy shoots her with a gun, and I'm like, you better double tap her, double tap her, double tap her, double. He doesn't, and then she kills him, and I'm like, wow. And there's even some great scenes like in the bathtub where she's up in the bathtub and she, that's obviously in the trailer. And then she's like, when she tells the little girl, open up, Nancy. Nothing, a big old hug and kiss. I mean, Elisa Sutherland does a great job in this movie. Like, she is terrifying. Like, she's scary. She's gross. I mean, like the scene with the fly is just on her eyeball, like ugh. And then of course, like when they have the tattoo thing where she's trying to like put it, and she stabs it in her tongue and then stabs it in the face, and then just so that way later on the daughter can become possessed by one. And when like and also there is like, they're like, it's so creepy whenever they're listening to like the tape of the priest and everything, telling her don't listen to this and everything, and then you can see the demon is just like slime. The Deadeye mom is just crawling through, like, and like all of a sudden she then turns, and all of a sudden she just sticks her hand and opens her mouth up, and you can still hear, because she wants her to hear that nobody is safe, and like that's so cool about that. I thought that was great, and then of course I thought the the cheese grater scene, wherever like like the one daughter's possessed and she's eating glass, and I'm like, oh, that hated that so much because I don't like glass and eye stuff. So she's eating glass, swallowing glass because there were maggots in her. She had maggots in her throat. She's puking up maggots, and she was swallowing glass. Just goes in her throat. And you see it pointing out of her throat. She swallows it like, oh. It's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then of course, like she then attacks her and everything, and it just got brutal. Which, they stab her a couple times, but then of course, like they put the then they tape her up and everything, and of course they're trying to find out a way to stop them and everything. And there's even a cameo from Ash in the movie where you hear Bruce Campbell's voice, where at the beginning when they're playing the tape, he's like, don't listen to it, don't do it, don't read it out loud, and and everything, which the director did confirm, yeah, that's Ash, who just traveled when he was traveling back in time and stuff, went tried to stop these priests, but they didn't listen, of course, and so that's like an Ash little voice cameo, which I thought that was pretty cool. And I also liked in the movie how, like, there's like when they're trying to like whenever, like, there's a scene where, like, when she's outside, she just, like, when the mom's possessed, she bites open this dude's eyeball and everything, and then she cuts his throat. Like, I'm like, just shows how brutal this demon, the Deadeye mom, really is. I thought that was brutal. And then I also like how, like, you just see, like, here then the sister gets just stabs to death the other, I think, the brother, I think, yeah, and then he just dies, and all of a sudden just and then becomes a Deadite itself, and like it's just like, and it ends up being like, and there's a scene that almost had me, like, where the mom is pregnant, okay, like, well, not the mom but the sister is pregnant, and then like it feels like two souls, it knows she has a baby in her, and then it tries to rip the baby out of her. Like, I'm like, that was intense to me. I'm like, don't do it, don't, because I was like, I don't want to see this, and everything. And I thought that was really cool. Like, there's a lot of grotesque things in the movie. I think the only thing, like, some of the characters, like, I feel like they like, none of the characters are likable in this movie compared to the other movies. I feel like that's my biggest issue with this movie, because I like the violence and gore is great, but like every character in the movie, there's not one character I can relate. I think the closest is the sister and the little girl. But even when she does something stupid by trying to opening up the door after all this crazy shit she just saw, she opens the door like, oh, well, the mom's better. But I understand she's a little kid, but still, come on. And then of course, like, the pregnant sister, she's the only one thing I can relate to, because I don't like the one sister that's like, like, I'm going to a protest tomorrow and everything, and I'm like, why are they trying to make her so unlikable? I mean, I don't have an issue with her going to the protest, but it's just like everything she says to me, she's always like the condescending person in the movie, to where it's kind of like that, the annoying character they're trying to make her out to be. And I'm like, you don't have to be you can get your point across without making her annoying. And I'm like, when she does become possessed, I'm just like, okay, go ahead, kill her. I don't give a shit. Like the one character, then there's like the one brother who gets killed, like, like, he's just a coward, basically, reads all this stuff out loud, and then it's like, oh, I can't help it. Oh, I'm just so scared. And I'm like, that to me, I just didn't care for that. And there was two neighbors, like one of them was just like, oh, we're watching the Freddy Krueger marathon, but the rest suck. And the little kid gets killed, then he gets his eyeball ripped out, and I'm like, that's intense, and everything. And I thought he was like, okay, he's cool, and then he gets killed, and I'm just like, okay, well then what's to do? And then I think the thing I liked the most, though, was like the violence and gore. I mean, if you're watching it for characters, you're gonna hate this movie, because the characters are just not well liked in this movie. But I do like them, like you watching them suffer, because they're so unlikable. Like, I thought the whole thing with a wood chipper at the end, where she uses the chainsaw just to kill her with a wood, and then shoves her in there with a wood chipper, because they all morph together into like one giant monster, like in John Carpenter's The Thing. And then they attack her, and then she just gets she pushes it into a wood chipper. And it turns out the ending of the movie is the beginning of the movie, because the whole beginning of the movie is you see these friends at a cabin in the woods, and then of course not that cabin in the woods, not the Kenobi cabin, but the, you know, just a random cabin in the woods, where it turns out at the end the demon like possessed her, and then of course they went to a cabin in the woods, and then they kill each other. And I liked it. I liked that it was like the beginning is the end and stuff. I thought that was clever, and I thought the violence and gore was great. I just feel like the characters were not well liked, and I just wish that's the one thing I wish I liked, because I do like the characters in the 2013 film. I like the characters in every film, but this is the one film where I'm like, I don't care. The most character I can relate to is the pregnant sister. At least she is somewhat trying to be likable, but at the same time, you're like, well, she abandoned her sister, didn't even answer her phone for months because she was like on the road, but like still, I mean, you could have answered your phone. It's 2026. But other than that, I did enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's a well-made horror film if you want to watch it. It's got violence, gore, all that stuff, just not likable characters. So with that, if I had to give it a grade, I'm going to give it a solid B+. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.